about 6 years old, my dad's job relocated him to Hawaii for about 3 months. Now, when he went on this trip, he made sure to take advantage of all the different opportunities that was presented to him on the island. My favorite thing that he did while he was there was diving and taking underwater pictures of everything that he saw, including the coral reef. When he brought these pictures back, I would look at them constantly, and I believe that is what sparked my love for the ocean. So thankfully, I can blame that on my dad. Now, one day, I would like to plan my own trip to see the coral reef and get to see all of the colors and the habitat for myself, but that may not be possible. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how exactly we have been harming our coral reef all around the world and what we can do to help the habitat so that we can save it for future generations to be able to see as well. Although I am not as credited to talk about this topic, I have done some thorough research and I am very passionate about this topic, so I feel very comfortable talking to you about it today. I believe that coral reefs are a vital part of our ecosystem that we have been harming over time, but we can help them through the Coral Reef Alliance. First, I would like to talk to you about how exactly we have been harming our coral reefs and how much damage we have actually done to them. So, over time, humans have been known to be very ignorant, and we do not like to take credit for what we have done if it is something negative. But when you take a look at how much damage has been done, you can see that it is actually a very large impact. According to Renee Cho on Losing Our Coral Reefs, found on Columbia University, last accessed on December 11, 2019, 90% of coral reefs will be endangered by 2030, and nearly all of them by 2050. Also, today many reefs have 40 to 50% less coral than they did just 30 years ago. Although this may seem like it is not a very large impact, that means almost 50% of the coral that we once had is either on the way of decaying or it has already been lost because of what we have been doing to our underwater ecosystem. And that is a very large impact on not only the underwater marine life, but it also impacts our everyday life as well if it continues. Next, I would like to talk about how exactly we harmed that ecosystem. Now, you might think that a lot of the plastics that you use goes to recycling, and that's true, a big part of it does, but a lot of those plastics end up in the water. And it's much more than just the plastics that is hurting our underwater life. According to Jeff Yonover on coral reefs found on Ocean Health Index, last accessed on December 11, 2019, 60% of reefs are already seriously damaged by local sources such as overfishing, destructive fishing, anchor damage, coral bleaching, coral mining, sedimentation, pollution, and disease. So pollution is not the only big factor that is coming into play here. There are many more things, including fishing. Many people overfish the waters around the coral, and therefore the habitat is dying because it is not being circulated because of the natural animals that have been going in and out of there, providing it with different nutrients that they bring in, which is in turn causing the coral to die off. Now that we've talked about the different ways that you have harmed the coral reef, and not just you, the world as a whole, I would like to talk to you about the Coral Reef Alliance. The Coral Reef Alliance is an organization that has put aside their time and money so that they can help save our coral reefs, and they would like as many people to be involved as possible. First, the Coral Reef Alliance actually is a very big organization. According to the Coral Reef Alliance, last accessed on December 11th, 2019, in partnership with local communities, we take a multi-pronged approach to restoring and protecting our coral reefs. Not only does this organization help by bringing awareness to this problem, they also help by doing donations through the organization, which in turn goes towards their different projects. And you can also just spread the word through that organization. And one of the biggest ways that you can help through this organization is volunteering. They have many different volunteer programs, and you can also do it internationally through this program. And their biggest program, Volunteer Works, are actually in Hawaii, and most volunteer programs go for about a month, and they do offer housing while you are volunteering. According to the Coral Reef Alliance, last accessed on December 11, 2019, in exchange for contributing your time and sharing your talents, you'll learn new skills, interact with conservation specialists, make a real difference for our planet, and make fun in the process. So they offer many more options for volunteering, but right now their biggest is in Hawaii, and they would love to have more donations as well, and just spreading the word through the organization is great. Now that we have talked about the Coral Reef Alliance and how you can help, I would like to talk about how exactly this would impact your life if it is neglected, and just how important it is to save our coral reefs. So first I would like to talk about how exactly it would impact our world if we chose to ignore this. According to Laura Parker and Craig Welsh on Coral Reefs Could Be Gone in 30 Years, found on National Geographic, last accessed on December 11, 2019, the reduction in food supplies, lack of coastal protection as the reef collapses, and subsequent land erosion will make some places unavailable and people will have to move. So not only does this affect, like I said, not only does it affect the underwater marine life, but it also affects our lives too. The coral reef acts as a barrier for waves when they are coming to shore. So if that coral was to disappear, we would eventually have much more land erosion on those beautiful islands and coasts that we like to visit. And eventually they would be uninhabitable because it would be too dangerous for us to live there, because there would be no buffer for those huge waves that come in. And now that I have talked to you about that, I would like to talk to you about why you should care about this. So coral reefs are beautiful. Yes, people love to look at them, and they're a great tourist attraction. But they provide much more than that, and people do not recognize that. According to the benefits of coral reefs found on the International Coral Reef Initiative, last accessed on December 11, 2019, healthy coral reefs provide habitat, income, food, protection, medicine. Coral reefs provide a lot more than people think. Coral reefs provide income because in those areas where there's coral reef, there is a lot of tourists. And yes, this can be negative for that habitat, but it can be a benefit if it is lower, and that income reflects onto the people that are living in that area. It also provides medicine because there is a specific enzyme that the coral secretes that it uses as a defense mechanism to defend itself, and that has actually been used in different studies to provide cures for different illnesses and sicknesses, and it is actually still being used today. But if that decreases and the coral disappears, we will no longer have that to use. And it also creates food because, of course, different fish and marine life live in those coral reefs and around there, which can provide food for those native people that live there. In turn, today we have discussed how exactly we have damaged the coral reefs, what you can do to help and where you can go to help, and why you should think that this is a very important option and step for you to take. I would like to believe that people care about our world and that this is something that people hold close to their hearts, because it is not only the animals that live here that need this earth, but we also need it as well. And I'd like to think that we want to keep it as clean as possible so that we can live here for as long as possible. And hopefully if you take this action, I will be able to go on my own trip to see the coral reefs for myself. Are there any questions?
How much of the Earth's surface is covered in coral reefs?
Right about now, the Earth's surface is actually only covered in about 1% or less of coral reefs, which seems like it may be a small number, but that is mainly on the coast or around islands. And as that decreases over time, there would be less and less, which it used to be a much higher number years ago.